Good evening and welcome to the rest of the news. Our special guest this evening is Ed Holloway, who is a former state representative, and we're certainly glad to have you here today.
Well, one of the problems that we have, and there was a statement once made that there are none so blind as those who will not see. And when you try to understand what's going on with this administration, and the problem is that there are so many issues going on simultaneously that we're trying to deal with, and that collectively it's overwhelming. We've got the problem with the ISIS. We've got the problem with internal discord within America, within the Islam community. There was a recent survey made, and 1/3 of the members of the Islamic community in the United States agree with ISIS.
Yeah.
And all of that. So all of those things are going on at the same time. We still haven't resolved Benghazi and the problems there. And then all the problems that Hillary Clinton is having with all of her things, with her server and her computer and all the things that were deleted. So collectively, it's coming at us from so many different angles. And one of the things that problem I have with all of this is that Obama continues to completely ignore Islam's radical aspect. He will not use the word.
Unbelievable.
And he had a meeting with the Pentagon officials, and he got outraged when they were talking about Islamic State of ISIS, and he refused to have any connection between that and Islam. And all of those things, and they had a meeting, and he became totally infuriated, got up and walked out one time and came back a couple of times and said that basically this meeting is over. He would not discuss it, and this had to do with the bombing. And one of the things was the request to bomb the Islamic headquarters, the ISIS headquarters, and he refused to allow that because it might be innocent civilians that connected with it, and all the other things. So there's been an investigation of why so much of this is going on, and this one study that was going on that they found out that we're basically headed toward a Muslim government. The one that surprised me most was John Brennan, the current head of the CIA, who converted to Islam while he was stationed in Saudi Arabia.
He converted to Islam.
And
the CIA.
He is head of the CIA, is now a Muslim. And Obama's top advisor, Valerie Jarrett, is a Muslim. She calls herself an Iranian American. She was born in Iran, and her parents still live there. And even Hillary Clinton's top advisor, Huma Abedin, is a Muslim whose mother and her brother are involved in a now outlawed Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. All of these things are going on. It goes down to the Secretary of Policy and Development for Homeland Security is a Muslim. The Homeland Security Advisor is a Muslim. And it goes on and on and on.
Homeland Security is a Muslim too.
Right. Obama's Sharia czar of the Islamic Society of North America is a Muslim. The Advisory Council on Faith-Based Neighborhood Partnerships, Ibu Patel, is a Muslim. And last but not least, our closest Muslim itself, is the background that Obama himself had as a child.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Where he was attending a Muslim school and was found to be very versatile in all of the aspects of Islam. And they had once thought that he would make a wonderful cleric. And that was before his mother separated from the person she was living with and sent him back to his grandparents in Hawaii. So all of those things, and he could see where his formative years had a positive influence, probably in a very positive way about Islam and how it stood. But that's one of the things that shadows all of his ability to concentrate on what the real problems are today. So collectively, all these things are going on. And then when we get back to the current thing about his legacy and wanting to have this deal with Iran at whatever cost it is, you end up with a problem there that is extremely serious. We have wounded warriors and others that have said what they have experienced in cases where Islam and Iran has furnished all the bombs that blew up themselves and their families and their friends and others, and what's been going on, and others that have looked at this thing. And the most alarming thing at all was a meeting where Tom Cotton confronted Secretary of State Kerry and the Energy Secretary over the secretive agreement.
The secret agreements that they're not letting anybody know.
According to Senator Cotton, in the transcripts, we was asked, Senator Kerry, have you read either of the two side deals between the International Atomic Energy Agency and Iran? Kerry's response was, no, I haven't read them. Senator Cotton said, have you read any previous drafts? No, I haven't. I believe one person may have, but I don't know for sure. And then he asked the secretary once that, have you read the text? No, sir. Has anyone in your team in the Department of Energy read them? I'm not sure. And this went on and on and on, but nobody in the U.S. government had reviewed the text of these agreements.
But they want us to agree to them, even though they don't know what the agreements are.
Exactly. And Kerry responded, not that I'm aware of, but we know that the deal is bad, and all of the things connected with it. And the photo that sticks in my mind of the Iranian negotiators looked like they had just won the lottery.
You were talking about ISIS, and Obama says ISIS is not Islamic.
Right.
And ISIS stands for Islamic State.
Exactly. And as this is the thing that they're trying to formulate a caliphate that would remain, and the whole object of Islam is to make one religion throughout the world.
Yeah.
And that's why every non-believer is an infidel and has to be dealt with either to convert or to execute.
Yeah.
And they make no qualms about it. In the Quran, if you read the Quran, there's 100 and some odd passages that deal specifically with that. All of these things are going on in the background, and to deny it is idiotic.
Yeah.
And we all have a stake in this. Not only
that's right. We all do.
For all of our existing exam, but for the generations to come. And,
I'm thinking those Iranians are going to come across that wide open border in Texas with their atomic bombs and start blowing things up.
They could take a suitcase.
Yeah.
And there are several things going on behind the scenes. Collectively now, the new head of Saudi Arabia, whose father had abdicated, he had been the governor of Kabul and other things, is not as close to the United States as his father had been. And he is in the process of setting up a meeting sometime in September with Russia and China. And there may be he'll be there. Russia is in serious trouble because of the low price of oil and other things, and they're trying to cut a deal with the formulation of a new currency and a lot of other things that are going on. So all of these things are happening at a time when the United States has reached the weakest point internationally in its history.
Right. Now, the other thing you said, Obama said there are no Muslims in the... I've been reading Obama's comments and said, oh, no, there are no Muslims in our government. And you just listed a half a dozen or more.
Exactly. And
the top leaders in our government are Muslims.
And they're all in critical locations.
Yeah, critical, like CIA.
Exactly. But one of the most alarming is the head of the CIA. So
unbelievable.
And on down the list. And there's nothing about it that is clandestine or hidden. It's been out in the open before, but nobody paid any attention to it. And if you collectively put them all down, one after the other, as we just did, it's really alarming.
Alarming. That's it. Now, the other thing you said was that Obama did not want the Air Force to drop bombs on the headquarters of the ISIS because there might be civilians around there. And, we've known for years that that's the way the Muslims operate, is they always surround their headquarters and anything important and with
that's been
civilians.
Exactly, and it's a strategic tool that has been used by Hamas, by every one of the radical groups, the battle against
Yeah.
Israel and
Yeah.
everything else. And the thing that he said that the radicals in Iran, but the radicals start with the Ayatollah Khomeini, the president, all of the leadership of
yeah.
that, death to America.
Here's a group of people in Iran, and they're sitting there. I saw the movie, and we've got the movie. We'll give it to you if you call and ask at 893-2444. And it must be at least 5 or 10,000 people in there. They're all men, and they're shouting, "Death to America! Death to America! Death to America!" And Obama wants to give them the atomic bomb.
And at the same time, the day after the deal was signed, and as we mentioned earlier, the negotiating team from Iran thought they just won the lottery. They had this rally in that were thousands of people showed up, burning American flags, death to America, death to Israel. All of those things are going on simultaneously.
Now, let me just say this. We talk about a lot of problems, and there are a lot of problems, but the question that the point we'd like to emphasize is that there's something we can all do. We can all do something about the situation, what's going on. Now, here is a flyer about a bus trip to Birmingham, Alabama with Glenn Beck. And it's August 29th of this year, just a couple of weeks off. And we're going to charter a bus and go down there. And you can go with us. And the thing is, if 1 million or 5 million people show up at this big unity rally, it's a unity rally. And if we all go down there and show up, it's going to have a huge effect on the future of our country. If you have a huge amount of people showing up at the Unity Rally. Now, it's a luxury bus. It'll stop in Louisville, in Elizabethtown, and in Bowling Green. It's going to leave Louisville about 11:30 or 12 on Saturday, right after midnight, on Saturday the 29th. Okay, and we get
on the 28th. It will be going down for the meeting. It'll start in Birmingham.
But it's almost the beginning of the 29th.
Right.
And we get on the bus and we go down to Birmingham. We get out. It's about a 6-hour drive. We get out, have breakfast, and then they're having a march along the route of Martin Luther King took and his march down in Birmingham. Then they're having a big rally, and the cost of the bus is $90, and that includes the $10 ticket to get in the big Coliseum down there. Okay, then we get back on the bus, and we should be back in Louisville 10:30 or 11, something around that. So this is something everyone can do. And you say, well, what's the purpose of the rally? It's to unify all the people that believe in America, that believe in God. And it's also to support all of the people in Syria and Iraq that are being tortured. Their heads are cut off. They pushed them out of their country. They're killing their children. Some they burned alive. They're torturing these people because of their faith in God. And he's going to take up an offering to get them food and clothes and water and give them a place to stay. Nobody is doing anything to help these people. Obama is bringing in another 70,000 Muslims in the United States. And but none of them, he's not allowing any Christians into the United States, only Muslims.
Right.
Now, what do you think of that? Now, the Christians are the ones that are being tortured and persecuted, but he's not letting any of the Christians in, only Muslims. Okay, so anyway, this bus trip is to help all those people in the Middle East that are being tortured because they believe in God.
And that luxury bus will accommodate 55 people. So.
Yeah, Yep.
And as soon as that is full, then that's all that will be available. So it's important that you let the
let us know right away.
And if you live in Elizabethtown or Bowling Green, that you can join the bus there.
Yes.
And the details will be available to you.
Yes, that's exactly right. Now, if you want to go on the bus with us, the number to call right now is 893-2444. That's 893-2444. Call right now, and I just want to say a couple. There's another big rally right here in the state capitol on Saturday, August 22nd at 12 noon. And that's to promote religious freedom. And I just want to, don't want to forget all of this. Here is a DVD, number 71, about Islamic immigration and how Obama's bringing in more and more people. There have already been 1.6 million brought in, according to Phyllis Schlafly, and he's going to bring another 70,000. So that, these Muslims are not coming to become American citizens or to get a job or to support our country or become Americans. They're coming to support Sharia law.
But another aspect of that is that there's no screening taking place, so we don't know who these people are. They're bringing them in from Syria,
right,
from Iran, from other places that nobody really knows anything about their backgrounds, whether they are terroristic or whether they're
right.
And at the same time, as you mentioned, the problems that Glenn Beck is going to be discussing about the problems that Christians are facing there.
Yes,
there are refugee camps over in Turkey and others where they're actually starving. And actual children are dying, and there's nobody giving any aid and help to them at all. And we've got several villages that are in that area where the ISIS has taken over that have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, Christian communities that have been totally destroyed, the churches burned to the ground, the people either converted or slaughtered right there, and nobody has made a move to stop any of it.
Unbelievable. Nobody wants to help the Christians, but Obama's helping the Muslims and bringing them in here. And, here's a DVD that we made on this whole issue, number 51. And there are 22 Muslim terrorist training camps in America today. And this documentary DVD interviews people that have been in the camps, shows you videos of the camps. It's been on Fox News 2 different times on 2 different programs, and you've got to get this. The same number to call to get all of this is 893-2444. Call right this minute, and either somebody will answer your call or there'll be an answering machine, and we'll get all this stuff out to you.
Right. It's extremely important. And as I mentioned earlier, there are so many different things happening simultaneously.
That's right.
That it becomes very confusing for most people. And your automatic reaction is that, there's nothing I can do. But there is 100 things that can be done. But the concentration on these things and deal with them one at a time is absolutely imperative if we're to continue as a nation, because
that's what it boils down to.
Right,
and nobody's talking about it. They don't put it on the liberal media.
No, not at all.
We've got it all documented by Breitbart, by WorldNet Daily, by Phyllis Schlafly. They're all 100% accurate. And you need to get that, and we'll send you if you want to, we'll send you the actual articles that expose all of this.
That's great. I'm a basic student of history, and in the process, I've looked and found that 29 other great civilizations that are no longer in existence, and they're buried in the closet of the past, but every one of them, it was not external forces that destroyed them, it was internal.
Think of that.
And that's the process that is taking place in this country right now. To remain silent when men should speak out makes cowards of men, as Abraham Lincoln once said. So it's imperative that all of these things take place and that we each do whatever little amount we can do as
That's
an
right.
individual
That's
and
right.
collectively. And because of the thing what Glenn Beck is trying to do to help the Christians over there, it's extremely important because other Christians in other parts thinking nobody's on our side either. And it's having a negative effect about Christianity, not only in the United States, but in Europe and other places.
Unbelievable.
And you've got a demand. And the problem with Islam is that they are very patient. They are methodical. They're slow. It may not happen in my lifetime, but I had a case when I was in the Middle East where a man's son was coming of age. And he gave him his key to the home in Spain. They had not been to Spain. They were there for over 700 years. And from that standpoint, they were kicked out by Isabel and Ferdinand in 1492, at the last one at the Alhambra. They went back to North Africa. So his father, this young man was coming of age. He said, I may not in my lifetime be able to go, but you will, and gave him the key to their home in Spain. So that kind of thing is going on with them. They don't have Facebook, Twitter, and all the other things going on individually, but they have meetings all the time, and they talk about what their long-range goals are.
This is a newsletter we wrote recently about how Obama is bringing in more and more Muslims, no Christians, and why they're coming. They just establish Sharia law and no-go zones, and how they go into the orphanages and pull out the little girls, 12 and 13, and these Muslim rape gangs, and how Sweden is doing it. If you call us, we'll send you this letter and all the documentation. That number again is 893-2444. Okay, Ed, you got more there about...
Well, it's a combination of the thing that's really actually with the leadership of Iran.
Yeah.
And their moves that they have not done a thing, and you're going to release doing this. If this deal continues and goes through completely and Congress can't stop it, if they don't have the intestinal fortitude to stand up and say, no, this is bad, this is wrong.
Absolutely.
And it's really important that we contact the members of Congress and the Senate and tell them that this thing's a bad deal and to do everything you can to stop it.
Yeah, now here's the number for the switchboard in Capitol. At the Capitol, you can tell your congressman, the number is 202-224-3121. And just Yarmouth, say, hey, I want to talk with Congressman Yarmouth.
Exactly.
And tell him, hey, we don't want the Muslims taking over our country like they are in Europe, and how they've taken over Turkey. That used to be a Christian nation.
Exactly.
They've taken over Lebanon. That used to be a Christian nation. They're taking over more and more of the world because they come in here and they have 4 wives, and each one has 4 children or something, and
there are a few places where they're trying and doing a very good job, but they have to focus on it, be committed, and can be consistent and hang and keep at it.
Hang tough.
Because we've got a situation that leadership in Iran sees themselves as being in the leadership position. This release of $100 million to them is going to finance more of the type of things that are going on. One of the problems with the Muslims that are in this country is that these mosques that they're building all over the United States, we've got 2 in Kentucky and they're growing every day. They're being staffed by the Wahhabis, which is a radical group out of Saudi Arabia. The clerics and others are not being, and we've prohibited the FBI and other agencies of government from even attempting to find out what's going on inside these mosques. And in France, for example, there are over 6 million Muslims now. There are over 2,500 Muslim mosques that are now in there. And the Christian churches are falling by the wayside. People are scared to death. And all of these things are simultaneously going on. And until people take it seriously for what their ultimate goal is. And again, I'm not saying every Muslim is a terrorist. So there's the distinction that you have to be careful. And those that are moderates within the Muslim community are scared to death because one of the major tenets of that, if you do not support
Killing
Islam,
other people, yeah.
and there was a case in Europe where a cleric, this man and a New York Times reporter that was covering that thing was totally amazed because he ran into a situation where this Christian family had been totally wiped out. Everyone,
Yeah.
every member of the family, the men, his wife, his children, all were dead. And he found out that it was committed by a next door neighbor who they had been friends for years. Their children had grown up together and all that. And they asked him why. Why did this happen? He said, because the cleric said that was my duty as a Muslim to kill the infidels.
I tell you, it's terrible.
These things are isolated individual cases, but collectively it's going on in a lot of places that don't get reported. It was the fact that this reporter, who happened to be right in the middle of it, was so shocked and outraged that it was reported. And some cases it was buried in the paper on the back page.
You know, one of those articles we were looking at earlier, it says Obama is responsible for more terrorism than any other human being on the planet because he's given them over, I think it's 100 to between 100 and 150 billion dollars worth of money to Iran, which is the chief terrorist nation, and he's given it to them so they can come and blow us up, get them an atomic bomb so they can come over here and blow us up.
Well, what this is going to do is that Saudi Arabia and other, and again, it goes back to the basic things about the types of.
We're almost out of time.
Well, the fact is that when they do that, it goes down to the basic. Now, they want the defense against Iran.
Yes.
But Iran, even though it's a Muslim, is basically Persian and not Arabic. So they are the Sunnis and the Shiites, the Shiites are the majority, but the ISIS are the ones that are the radicals. And in that process, they're coming at them, and then Saudi Arabia is scared to death.
They're scared, yeah.
And the rest of the area, I'm very concerned about Jordan and some of the other smaller countries in the Middle East. And if that all collapses, then the world has a very, very serious problem.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ed Holloway, and thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in again next week for the rest of the news.